You see, that's one of the things about Judaism is we have all these words that we use and we assume that everybody knows what we're talking about. And when we say the 3 weeks, well, of course you know what the 3 weeks are. But my guess is if you're watching this video, you may not know exactly what they are, and you may not know exactly why we do them. So let's speak about the 3 weeks. The 3 weeks are 3 weeks of mourning. We have two time periods in the Jewish calendar, which are considered times of mourning, and one of those two times are what we refer to as the 3 weeks. Typically, they're somewhere towards the end of July and the beginning of August. What are we mourning about? We're mourning over the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. Now, if you want to know what's so special about the temple in Jerusalem, that so many years, almost 2,000 years later, we're still mourning about its destruction, well, you'll have to watch the video about the Temple of Jerusalem. But until then, let's speak a little bit about when this temple stood, who built them, what they looked like, and when they were destroyed. Let's take a moment and speak about the Beit HaMikdash. That is the Hebrew word for the Holy Temple that stood in Jerusalem. There were actually two different temples that were built. The first one was built by King Solomon, and he built it about 2,900 years ago. It stood for close to 400 years, which means that it was destroyed about 2,500 years ago. It was destroyed by the Babylonian king, whose name was Nebuchadnezzar. 70 years later, it was rebuilt, the second temple, by Ezra and Nehemiah. That temple was built 2,400 years ago. It stood as well for about 400 years, which means it was destroyed just about 2,000 years ago. This is a picture of what the temple looked like, the second temple. About 250 years after it was built, it was renovated by King Herod, and he put in all of these beautiful columns, and that's pretty much what it looked like about 2,200 years ago, until it was destroyed by the Roman Emperor Titus 2,000 years ago. Because of all of this destruction, that all happened at the same time in the calendar, although many years separated one from the other, we have what we refer to as the 3 weeks, or the 3 weeks of mourning. During these 3 weeks, there are many things that Jewish people don't do, and these 3 weeks begin with the fast day of the 17th of Tammuz, which you can learn more about in another video, and it ends on Tisha B'Av, which is the 9th day of Av, which is the day that both of these two temples were destroyed, both of them on the same calendar day. In another video, you can learn more about the 9th day of Av. Now, there are a number of things that we do not do during this time period. The first of which is we don't have any Jewish weddings during these 3 weeks. The second thing we don't do is we don't play any musical instruments. The third thing we don't do is we don't recite the blessing Shehechianu. This is a very special blessing that we make at happy times during our life. Practically speaking, it is also true that we make a Shehechianu when we buy new clothing. And for that reason, many Jewish people have the custom not to shop, not to go shopping for clothing at all during these 3 weeks. Finally, we don't take haircuts or shave, according to most Jewish traditions, during these 3 weeks either. Well, that's enough of what we shouldn't do. How about things that we should do during these 3 weeks? The first, of course, is to study about the Beit HaMikdash in hopes that we will once again merit to see it being rebuilt. We can study both about the building itself. There's a lot of details that are found in the Book of Kings, as well as in various tractates of the Talmud, as well as Maimonides. And we can learn about the service that actually happened in the Beit HaMikdash, that actually was done, about all of the various sacrifices and the music and the prayers and all the different things that happened during the Beit HaMikdash. Finally, and most importantly, the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed for the reason that people could not get along. They had baseless hatred, they hated each other for no reason whatsoever. And the way to remedy this problem is, of course, to increase in acts of love and kindness. And through increasing in acts of love and kindness, we will merit to see the rebuilding of the Beit HaMikdash in our own days. And hopefully these coming 3 weeks, instead of being 3 weeks of mourning, will be 3 weeks of rejoicing with the coming of Mashiach.